Welcome to the Embodiment podcast. This show is for you if you see the body as more than a brain taxi. It's for people interested in coming home to the body as a holistic aspect of who we are and how we live. Episodes contain practical tips, exercises you can take away, and interviews with specialists from around the world. I'm your host for today, Mark Walsh. On the show today, my friend Adam Husler, London-based yoga teacher. I'm afraid you guys can't see how good looking he is, but he's a mate of mine. He's a cool guy, interesting perspective on yoga. Adam, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. I last saw you semi-naked in the sauna.
I'm not sure we should talk about that, Adam. Should we discuss that? Is that where we really want to start for this interview? It was a chilled out evening though, wasn't it? A bit of a random, nice chilled out evening. I was in London. I thought I want to relax and want to talk shit about yoga and embodiment and send you a message and we had a nice time. Okay, so my wife's little fantasy aside, how did you get interested in embodiment, Adam?
It started with me post-uni. Uni, I was playing around with yoga. I was a typical student, yes, did a little bit of work, did a lot of actually charity work on the side, maybe unlike a typical student, but did the whole drinking and kind of letting myself go. Post-uni, I was a little bit lost. Ended up back in Birmingham, which is where I'm from.
We've got a lot of American audiences. They're simply not going to understand the Birmingham accent.
Well, no, because they're watching the Peaky Blinders now.
And that has helped.
Very popular.
So I've got family there too. So Brummies.
Yeah, so from Birmingham.
Okay.
Went back there and I got into charity work after my law degree. Was a little bit lost in many ways, physically and mentally. Most of my evenings were spent in a boxing club. And I decided that I dabbled with yoga a little bit, and yoga might be a good way, not only to quieten my mind, as it were, but to actually meet some normal people. I say normal, but meet people that weren't boxers and that weren't in the charity sector.
Right.
You know, it was in between doing more yoga or starting dancing. And yoga kind of won that competition. And yes, there was lots of physical benefits of it. And my boxing actually got so much better. Because I was engaging my body more, my recovery was faster. Yeah. I could punch people faster. But I found the half an hour before every single class, just lying on my mat, to be super valuable. And it created a really lovely space for me just to be and to be with myself and actually work out who I was and what I was trying to do.
You know, it's interesting. We do all the fancy moves and the poses, and you're a pretty flexible, athletic guy. You know, the yoga you do, I probably couldn't keep up with a lot of it. But as you say, just going to that class and lying down. And sometimes I feel like I've been racing. My life's just crazy full, like most people's in the modern world. And I lie down and I'm like, and I can just be a human being again.
Mm. And that's the benefit. Life is full, I find, of things that we can objectively succeed at. Whether it be career, whether it be in the gym, we need a PB, whether it be even every person that owns a camera now feels pressure to put up a gallery together or put up a blog. We want to win at everything. And I think being on our mat, there is just no winning. Well, there is winning depending on the style of yoga you do. There are some styles of yoga where everyone's trying to do the crazy poses. But at least in my style that I do and that I practice and that I teach, there is nothing to win. There is nothing to achieve. It's simply you on your mat having a practice of self-inquiry, and yes, through that practice you're doing hard stuff, and you're looking at how your mind reacts to that hard stuff, how your breath reacts to that hard stuff. That's simply all you're doing. And the bits of stillness, I think for me, they're as physically challenging as everything else, if not more. Sitting still or lying still.
Yeah, I mean, a meditation retreat is tremendously challenging physically, for sure. Sitting still for long periods. And I mean, who are your main influences in yoga then? Is it Jason Crandall, isn't it? It's one of your main.
Jason is my main teacher, I would say. So I found Jason 6-ish years ago, maybe 7 years ago. I'd heard his name. And I just really resonate with his style of teaching. It's very non-dogmatic. And actually, it's really evidence-based. That's not to take anything away from yoga tradition. But the view is, I guess, that while we're working with our bodies in this part of a yoga practice, we may as well do it in an informed way. Is informed by modern science and modern understanding. And that's what I love most about him. And what I love is the fact that he might teach something one year, then the next year come back and say, actually, this year I've been working with a spinal surgeon. That thing I taught last year, no, I've changed my mind. And I really like that. I think that's a sign that someone is thinking and not just parroting what their teacher said.
Right.
So Jason is my biggie. There's plenty of other ones as well. In the more meditative field, it's a guy called Michael Stone who sadly passed away.
Yeah, it's been an influence on me too. I listen to a lot of his stuff online.
Wonderful. The amount of stuff he's left is a real gift to us, because he actually recorded every Dharma talk and every training, and it's very informally recorded. But it's such a gift, and he's written many books. It's actually not he, but his foundation have released another book of short experts from some of his Dharma talks.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of stuff online, isn't it? And there's actually going to be this quite interesting situation now where people can have a teacher they've never met. So, I recently did a meditation retreat with Shinzen Young, a few months back, and I'd actually been following him for about 10 years. And I've listened to, I'd say, a couple of 100 hours of him teaching. And you figure the average meditation retreat, they might only teach for 5 hours on a retreat normally, right? So, and I've been really influenced by him, and it's just totally weird to then meet him in person. And I might not have ever met him had I not had enough money to go to America,
Indeed.
It's a weird situation.
And Michael, I'm sure there's plenty of people that have listened to far more Michael than I have. Right. In person, I was probably with him in total, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks in total, face to face. And then beyond that, yes, I've listened to stuff, but everything's out there. And, there's so many online teachings now, which I think are wonderful things. But I do think there is something special about actually connecting.
There is, yeah. There's no getting away from that. And I really like it when people have done some of the homework and they've done some of my stuff online, and then they come to a training. They've got some good questions. They've got some basics under their belt, and then we can actually build a real relationship. I think that apprentice relationship is often missing in yoga. Jason, I consistently sort of hear good things about just being a nice guy and ethical and this kind of stuff as well. I think that counts for a lot, doesn't it?
He is. I love his lifestyle. He's got a lovely wife. She's incredible. She used to be an editor at Yoga Journal, I believe. He's set up an amazing podcast now. They have a child, they have a dog, new Chihuahua in their family. He's a good guy. He's a good, sane, rational, intelligent guy that has the best intentions. And actually, I think more than a lot of people I know really practices yoga in their daily life. It's not just being super spiritual in the room and being an arsehole outside it and being a judgmental person outside it. He actually practices yoga, which my bias when I talk about practicing yoga is really practice of balance. And this practice of balance in every way. And that includes not being constantly in love with the world, but constantly hating the world. It's finding that middle ground.
Right, yeah, because the love and light thing is you have to be positive about everything, and it kind of creates a weird shadow self. And I often see this in yoga communities where on the surface is love and light, but there's this kind of aggression not far under the surface just trying to get out. And they maybe need to go to boxing and punch someone in the face. Yeah,
and often manifesting as depression and the like, because people just lie to feel nice all the time and grin and bear it and not actually talk about how they feel.
Right, because and I guess it becomes difficult if people are selling an image through, Instagram, but also through just looking great in front of a class. And, you need to be in a positive mood when you're giving your class. You can't come in all depressed and spread that. You want to be upbeat. There's that sense of hey, you've made it to yoga. Well done. I want to impact something positive on your day. And then that could create a denial of when you're actually having a crap day.
And I completely agree. And this is what I convey, because I teach kind of teacher upgrade programs. And I really convey to them, just be yourself. Don't perform. Yes, there is an element of you fulfilling a role. Of course, you're getting paid to do something in particular. But there shouldn't be performing. And the style of teaching I like to introduce is more conversational. There is no you're standing on stage performing on your mat at the front.
You don't do a lot of jumping around, right? When you're teaching, you don't do a lot of...
I don't do anything, really.
You just, most of the pictures I see are you standing up and sort of joking and talking while everyone else does all the hard work, right?
Exactly. So I don't have a mat. For years, I've never laid a mat out. Right. Sometimes I wear clothes that probably I couldn't really do much in anyway. My view is that students seeing me do complex stuff is irrelevant to their experience. Good for my ego. And I look at what I can do, but it's irrelevant to them. I would much rather walk around, see my students and see what every single one of them is doing. And I get a really good sense of what's going on in the class just by constantly walking around.
Right.
And then all of my verbal instruction is based on that. And I do appreciate that actually maybe some people learn better by seeing someone do everything. But that person will soon just go to the back of the class where they can actually see all the other students doing everything and get all of my very intentional verbal cues.
So just to be clear, like you don't even demonstrate like a tree pose or whatever, like because the class will know what that is. There's enough advanced students.
And I guess it's your order of instruction. I don't normally say come to tree.
Yeah.
It'll be take the foot to the inner thigh, calf or ankle, prepare yourself, and now you're in tree pose.
Right.
That's not to say I never do anything. Of course, if there is something a bit nuanced or a bit unusual, I might slightly like say, okay, let's wrap the armpit in like this. But it's very rare that I would like do asana in front of the class.
I find it surreal when I'm in a class and the teacher's doing downward dog and they can't see the class, and I'm thinking, oh, I can pay to watch you on video. What is this? I don't get it.
I think what it is more than anything for a lot of teachers is a comfort blanket. I think new teachers have a few comfort blankets, and sometimes they last forever. I think one of them is actually just doing everything, and just that you don't barely need to teach, you just do the class. I think the other one is the use of music. I'm not saying it's bad at all, but I think a lot of teachers feel protected by the volume of the music or the lyrics, and then it kind of subdues their teaching a little bit. I think that's another comfort blanket. Maybe another one is constantly touching students and feeling you need to assist everyone physically all the time.
That shocked me a little bit when I came across that for the first time. I was like, get your hands off me. What the fuck is this?
Yeah. I'm not a massive fan of that. And actually, just standing up and walking is quite exposing. And allowing space for silence is quite exposing. And it's taken me a long time to build that. But I guess due to what I've done in the past, I'm relatively confident in myself. I for years, always talked to big groups of people, but not in the context of performing. I've never had to play a role.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm lucky in that regard. But one of the best things that happened to me in terms of my teaching is breaking my foot. Because for about, 3 months, I just sat down in every class.
Right.
Just sat and just talked.
And
I was teaching conferences. I taught one in Sweden. My first workshop at the Swedish conference was a handstand workshop. There was me walking in on crutches on a February day, wearing shorts, in the middle of Stockholm. But it was fine.
Nice. It's funny, then limitations teachers. And I think we also need to just have separate time for our own practice, right? Like I remember when I taught Aikido, I just didn't get any Aikido practice, I was actually starting to feel unfit. I wasn't really getting much exercise even. And actually having a separate space for teaching and practice so we can really serve ourselves with our own practice. And then when we're teaching, we don't have to try and serve ourselves because we've got that out of our system that's bookmarked elsewhere.
And I think that is a hard thing when you're doing it full time and would like a certain level of income. Like for me, I'm still, I'm an established teacher who's kind of known, and I'm still teaching 17 classes a week-ish.
Sometimes you do 4 or 5 a day, right? I mean, your work ethic is, I don't know, I almost want to, some days I see you post about it, I want to challenge you on it, Adam. I'm like, come on, man.
It is,
because you've got to get to the classes on your bike in London, you got to set up. I mean, that's not just 4 hours work, 4 classes, is it?
Well, today, for instance, has been at home. I've taught a class in, where was it, Holborn? So kind of central-ish London.
Yeah.
Then gone straight to Oxford Circus, and actually then gone to a gym session in Holborn, then gone back to Oxford Circus, then to Camden. And that's going to have a difficult day. And then most weekends I do teach internationally. So this issue for me, as an established teacher, is making enough money, but then finding the space, which is very hard, especially if, you don't have big properties. Like if I had a big flat or a big house with a yoga room, it would be wonderful. It's having a mat laid out.
Yeah.
How you automatically. But I think the reality, unfortunately, for a lot of people in London, especially, is you have small properties.
You're a married man, so you've got that going on.
You have to make a certain amount of money, which generally requires teaching more classes. And it's hard to find that balance, and it's always something I'm playing with to actually make time for myself.
Is the current yoga economics sustainable? Because everyone wants to be a yoga teacher. It's a cliche on Tinder that every girl says they're a yoga teacher now. There's a huge number of yoga.
The Tinder cliche.
Yeah, you don't know this, but it is. Trust me. And it's a thing. It's so Brighton has 2,000 yoga teachers in the census. This is a tiny town that was done, and huge number of teacher trainings. And people do the teacher trainings because that's where they make the money. But that produces more yoga teachers. And someone like you who's actually internationally known, successful, you're teaching at Tri Yoga and some of the top studios in London, which pays more per class maybe than some of the studios in smaller cities in England. I don't know how it is in Birmingham even. And, you can just about make an okay living. Like, is it sustainable, the current economics of yoga teaching?
Well, I guess talking for me, I guess I make more than an okay living. Like I'm comfortable due to working a lot, but I'm comfortable. In terms of sustainability, it's asking who are these people doing teacher trainings. There's actually relatively few people, or a low percentage of people, who are experienced yoga practitioners doing a teacher training because after years of practice and years of workshops, really want to enhance their knowledge and are open to the idea of conveying that to students. I think what people are doing a lot is seeing yoga teacher trainings as a retreat. And I see pretty regularly people asking me, oh, I've done yoga for 6 months. I really fancy doing a teacher training. And my view is no, to wait at least 2 years so you've practiced, so you've actually observed how a yoga practice can affect your body in the long term, etc., etc. And I really try and convey that to people. And if you do want to enhance your knowledge, just do more workshops, do more classes. I think there was the Instagram era of people seeing the highlight reel of a yoga teacher life and thinking, I want a little bit of that.
Because the lifestyle, I mean, I know teachers that are living out of a bag, they don't even have the regularity you have in London classes. They're just doing teacher trainings, festivals and workshops. And that is not a lifestyle I'd want.
I think often the people that do that do it as some form of escapism. They split up with a person, they're jumping on the road for a year. I think it's quite lonely. I think you can make money out of it, and I'm sure it would suit some people really well. I personally wouldn't want that. There are inevitably more and more. There are so many teachers in London now. Like if I teach I just taught a class now in Camden. It's an open level drop-in class, and I'm probably sure about 7 people qualified teachers.
Right.
Have a qualification.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, there are more studios opening. The more gyms are enhancing their yoga schedule. So there will be some demand for more teachers. And a lot of these studios opening don't necessarily want the best teachers, don't want to pay for the best teachers. They're happy to take someone that's done yoga for a year and has done a 3-week training in an unknown school and put them in a place with no experience. So I think there will always be that. And I think over time, some people will realize actually yoga's not for them. And they will move back out of it and just have had their teacher training just as an experience to enhance their knowledge. So I think there will always be need for teachers. There will probably be an increasing need. Over time, undoubtedly, there will be more experienced teachers. At the moment, there's not that many teachers that have taught for more than 5 years.
Even at a really good yoga studio, I've been surprised. I've been to some of the top yoga studios in London. I was expecting every teacher to be like the top teachers in Brighton, 20 years experience. And I was kind of shocked that there wasn't many that had more than 5 years experience at some of the big studios. I was like, wow, what's going on?
Some of them are still amazing. Like some of the teachers that have taught for 5 years have backgrounds in other things, and they have taught in those 5 years 3,000 hours of yoga. So that there'll be more and more people of that quality as time goes by, of course. But I think there'll always be a demand for teacher trainings. But my thing is just to say to students, before you do a training, work out why you're doing it. Are you doing it because you want to be a teacher? Or are you doing it to enhance your knowledge? And I would say
for anyone offering a teacher training, right? Sorry to interrupt there, but anyone offering a teacher training, the same question: why are you doing this?
Indeed.
Like, and what's the promise of it? Are you promising that everyone will be, Bali-based Instagram yoga teachers afterwards? Is that really a realistic promise?
And that's what I've actually waited for a long time before I was involved in a 200-hour training. 200-hour trainings are a wonderful way for studios to make money.
Yeah.
A really good way for studios to make money. So financially, studios have an interest in getting as many people as they can, regardless of their level of yoga experience. Just more money doing the training is wonderful. I didn't really want to be involved in those trainings, and I wanted to wait until I could be involved in a training that I really had faith in. And that's lucky enough now that I'm going to be doing a training with Jason Crandall. Like, he's teaching most of it, 80% of it, but a wonderful teacher called Adam Hock, and I will be teaching the other 20% of it. And at least then I know that anyone going through this training has taken time to pick an amazing teacher and are very much committed to it and will get a high-quality education from an experienced educator plus Adam and I. Whereas there's lots of training out there, like especially the ones internationally, where I see people that I know who've gone to do a training and have kind of stayed out there, and a year later they're suddenly co-teaching on the teacher training.
Yeah. Well, I got not allowed on a yoga teacher training recently, so maybe I'll find another one. It's did I tell you about that?
You did.
Maybe not on air, but the fun of my life. Okay, so let's talk about boxing. What does the boxing bring? So you've had this boxing background, bit different. You know, most yogis don't have a sort of combat sports background other than that nice flat nose of yours, Adam.
Oh yeah, it's completely correct. It's correct.
What else does it bring?
So when did I start boxing? Karate was my thing. My family, my dad's family were boxers. My mom vetoed it. So from like the age of 5 or 6 to 18, I did karate.
Okay.
Got to a higher level, got my junior black belt before I went to try and get the senior black belt. Or when I got to senior, I got demoted to brown belt. And before I got the black, I left Birmingham, went to Durham to study. And I just wasn't a fan of the karate school.
Lots of styles, yeah.
And so I was like, let's try the boxing club. My mom can't control me now. So joined the boxing club, and they were fit. You know, they were typical boxers, and it was awesome. And I ended up doing that for a long time. Had some like amateur fights up there. In Birmingham, I guess I was more serious. Uni, I loved it, but in
big
Birmingham,
boxing town, right? I know a few families of martial artists that, you know, they've done it for generations, kind of thing. Like East London, right? There's parts of Britain where it's just normal to box.
Yeah, but Birmingham is one of them. It's all over. And I was in a pro club. I wasn't a pro boxer, but I was in this pro club, and eventually an amateur club opened up within it. But I was boxing with the pros and sparring with the pros. But my view was I can't be as good as them, because they've got years on me and this is their life, but I can be fitter. And that was my focus. I was like, I want to be fitter than all of these pros. And so I was working every day in the charity sector and training like every morning, every night till late, sometimes running home from the centre of Birmingham, maybe like 5, 6, 7 miles. It became an obsession. It became an utter obsession. Then moved to, I did one fight in Birmingham officially, but it got cancelled just before. So like a medical issue, was a medical card issue. Moved to London for work, and again just got straight back into it and ended up doing some white collar boxing.
Oh yeah, it's popular in London, but a bit dangerous, I hear. You know, I've heard some people have not had some good times with that.
You've got no idea who you're fighting.
Yeah.
So poor guy, I got put in with this guy who looked like ripped. He was bigger than me. I was very big at the time, but he was bigger than me. Looked strong. It was at the Boston Arms in Tufnell Park, and went in for this fight. He had brought like maybe 70 people, like a proper crowd of people who bought tickets.
Yeah.
I brought my best mate, who used to be a doorman, and that was it. And I was a bit of an arsehole in that I could tell he wasn't experienced, and did a lot of the playing around, the sticking out a hand, throwing I was just toying with him a little bit in a very arrogant way. Doing the bowler punches, having fun. I broke his nose in the first round. I didn't intend to break his nose. I intended to punch him.
It's not really cool, is it, Adam? Do you know what I mean? If people have different levels of ability, or I've seen weight differences, and
and he was
sort of like put on as a charity fun thing.
He was a fit, healthy guy, and that's why they put him in, because he was clearly committed to it. He was like 5% body fat. I think it was an ex-rugby player. But again, it wasn't entirely fair. In the end, it was a draw because I think the judges didn't like me, and he bought all the tickets. I hadn't sold any tickets.
Quick interruption to tell you about my book, Embodiment. Creatively named, hey? Actually, Embodiment Moving Beyond Mindfulness. You can find this online at theembodimentbook.com. That's theembodimentbook.com. So this book is an introduction to the whole field. If you like these interviews, you'll probably love this book. Funny stuff, poems, personal stories from my life, illustrating what embodiment's all about, and loads for professionals in the field too. Top teaching tips, language tips, that kind of thing. Yeah, a real condensation of everything I've learned about embodiment, basically. So you can get pre-orders at Amazon.com, and if you just put in Embodiment Moving Beyond Mindfulness, that's the name of the book, or go to theembodimentbook.com. On there, you'll see quotes from various teachers, a bunch of fun illustrations, and you can also get the first chapter completely free online at theembodimentbook.com. Enjoy, and back to the interview. Okay, so some weird politics involved. What does it bring to yoga, though? Because, you know, like someone might say, well, this sounds brutal, breaking noses. And, you know, like what do you think you gain from boxing, if anything, that influences you now?
If I talk about yoga as a practice of self-inquiry, then the biggest moments of self-inquiry I've had in my life have been the moments of suffering.
Uh-huh.
Whatever they might be, like breakups, broken legs, people dying, running ultra marathons, boxing, training really hard, just being with yourself in a boxing ring, or being in a ring with someone who's going to punch you. There is something really interesting about that and how it affects your brain. And of course, you can make it hyper aggressive, but for me, it never was that. It was just exploring how I'm interacting with the world, how I'm interacting with this challenge, and growing through it. And that's, I think, what every yoga asana is. A yoga asana, beyond all the other benefits, is meant to be something that is physically challenging for you. Something ideally you don't want to be in for 5 minutes.
Right, so it's an experience of intensity which challenges you to grow bigger, and it also exposes patterns, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I get from boxing. That's what I got from the runs. Like running 100 kilometers in 12 and a half hours. It's like a microcosm of life.
Ultra runs, didn't you? Yeah. And I don't think it has to be that, but it's certainly a valid approach. And I think it's why it's always worth doing something intense. Like I like very relaxed, slow practices a lot, but I always keep a practice. I'm doing learning kind of weightlifting now, like at the gym with proper size weights. You know, I'm doing a bit of Russian martial arts now, something that has an intensity. And then most of my practice these days, I go more for the relaxed, chilled out side of things, where you learn something different through slowing down, closely attending to yourself. But they're complementary, and I wouldn't suggest to anyone to totally throw out the more intense side of yoga or whatever they do.
There is one thing about doing intense things, but I think there's another element where you really build doing intense things you can't escape from. Like when you're running on a treadmill, you can get off. When you're doing an asana, you can just stop doing it or take it down. And you can still look like you're doing it, but take it down a level or two. When you're lifting weights, you can put the weight down. When you're like running a marathon, or doing a long distance, or you're in the ring with someone, yes, of course, you can potentially get a taxer. You can shame yourself and jump out the ring, but you're more committed. You're more in it. You have to see it through. And I think most of the challenges we have in life, we have to see through. There is no jumping off.
I've had parents say this. I can't put my baby back in. Or, you know, I've got a business and I'm committed financially to things. You know, I'm borrowing a huge amount of money next year for this conference we're putting on. And it's like, once I've borrowed that money, it's too fucking late. Right? And Brett Weinstein called this also the brutal confrontation with reality. And I think this is a big difference between, say, boxing or BJJ versus, say, Aikido and yoga, is that it doesn't give a shit how good you think you are or your spiritual image.
Okay, yeah.
There's someone else that you're locked in a cage with, in MMA or whatever, or in the ring with in boxing. And it's all about reality, and like business is the same. Business doesn't give a shit how good you think you are, because everyone thinks they're a marketing genius. It's like everyone thinks they're sexy, everyone thinks they're a marketing genius, and everyone thinks they can fight, particularly men. And actually, let's see what reality says about your actual level of skill.
Yeah, no, indeed. And yeah, the yoga world is full of, in many ways, not the yoga world, but the world in general is, especially I think in the Instagram era, full of many people who think they're very competent at what they do, but aren't often willing to then put the work in and improve it.
And how is there a test? So actually, how do those people know?
Indeed, they can't tell, but then they're... Right? But what they often have is they believe they're very good and then feel they're entitled to something. Like there's so many yoga teachers now demanding a certain level of pay. You've taught 10 classes, mate. Why should you be getting paid as much as someone that's taught 4,000 classes?
Yeah.
Etc. So I think there is an entitlement and an unwarranted belief, self-belief.
Right, because that is in the sort of American personal growth culture. It's all about you can believe in yourself, you deserve this,
manifest
you deserve paid, you deserve lots of students, you deserve to be teaching on a beach in Bali, right? There's that, and you're
amazing. Can manifest it in any way, but without hard work.
Yeah, so that's
the hard work bit. Anything
without the work ethic. That's another thing. Something like boxing teaches is a work ethic, right? You have to get up early and do the running and do the sit-ups or whatever. And it's like that work ethic, which I think is a bit more of a conservative ethic, dare I say it. The hard work pays off. And
an Irish Catholic guilt.
Oh, is that your background too?
I think that's me.
That's where it comes from. Okay. And you talked about Instagram a few times, so maybe let's look at that a little bit. Like we've talked about this privately, the two of us, like this culture of image. And you have great photography. You know, I'm looking at your website. There's a picture of you pretending to read a book, and then there's pictures from the design.
Take away pretending.
I'm sorry, Adam. I know you can read. You've got a law degree. You must be able to read. But also, for example, that you do that gig at, is it the Design Museum, which is just beautiful.
That's cool.
And you have really high level photography. And except for that nose, you are, as I said, a very good looking chap. I think you've done some modeling stuff, right? You have a certain advantage. Like I think they're going to start calling this pretty privilege in the future. I think it's going to become a thing that people kind of, attack each other for. So yeah, maybe you could talk about, being a yoga teacher with the curse of your good looks in the age of image.
So it's really interesting. Of course, the world is very image driven now. And I use and always have used things like social media to spread word of what I do. And I think, maybe 15 years ago, people used leaflets.
Yeah.
There were plenty of photos of BKSE Engar around that he used in some form to educate or to advertise. I think we've always used these, but now we're in a culture where there is so much content creation. I think social media is a tool. It's one of many tools available. If you don't like it, don't use it. But that's all it is a tool. And I think much with any tool, you can use a tool badly. A good yoga teacher doesn't mean a good Instagrammer. A good Instagrammer doesn't mean they're not a good yoga teacher. You can be both. You can be neither.
Sure.
I think I'm fairly competent at creating an Instagram feed that people like, in that the images look good and what I'm saying represents me, in that they're generally either informative or not inspirational, but like chatting about life in some way, or sarcastic. One of those three things. And undoubtedly, it's put me in good stead. Part of it maybe is the fact that, yes, initially I'm sure I gathered some following because maybe 7 years ago when I started my social media, I was topless in a few of the photos. Quite a lot of photos. So I'm sure
come on, let me challenge with this. Let's be honest. That gave you a boost. And I'm not saying you're not a good yoga teacher. I definitely know you work hard. You do work hard. But that has given you a boost that some of us couldn't have. I look like a fucking hobbit. I could never do that.
It did give me a boost. Like a significant boost. But I had equally worked hard for those abs.
Sure.
But it did give me a boost. But yet, the people that were following me, and this is where it gets a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
The people that were following me weren't coming to class because it was teenage girls.
Right.
And men that might have fancied me. It wasn't actual conversions. You can be as pretty as you want and put all the kind of the semi-pornographic images you want on your social media. But I don't know anyone that comes to class because their teacher looks good.
You don't think that attractive yoga teachers, male or female, get more students partially based on people kind of wanting to look like them?
I think in certain settings, but I don't think in good studios, no. I don't think anyone is like, I'm going to go to try yoga today because I saw this hot teacher in their bikini on Instagram.
I don't think it's subtler than that, though. People have an aspirational quality towards the teacher, and it's a mix of sort of, there's this weird cocktail quite often of sort of spiritual aspiration, sexual good looks, which is sort of people wouldn't ever talk about, so they're hidden under that spiritual veneer, and fitness, having the body beautiful, the abs, the slimness, and I do think that's an influence.
Yes. I'm sure it is to a degree, but I think it then depends how you teach. If I taught a class topless and constantly referenced abs and body and looking good,
sure.
I actually, when I teach, I'm wearing trousers and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
My constant message is, if you can feel it, it's working. There is never any talk of like building any kind of certain body or achievement.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm very anti even trying to get into complex poses. My sequences are quite simple, quite effective, quite nuanced in instruction. But there is no, if you came to my class, you would not get to be able, at no point if you came to my class would you end up doing either complex poses or get a six-pack. What you would get is a very stable, balanced body with no desire to actually do the complex poses.
Yeah.
So it depends on, I think, how you teach.
Yeah,
and again, I was looking at, yes, I attractive, whatever, but from the start of me teaching, I actually managed the space and used that. So even just as I qualified, myself, I was for £5 was running back-to-back classes on a Saturday, having one person come, mainly mates, two people.
Sure. I'm not questioning your work ethic at all.
And so there was a combination of things that play for everyone. And I know lots of good-looking yoga teachers who their social media mainly revolves around them being good-looking. Having some financial success through social media on the marketing side of things, and maybe for events, but not necessarily, they might not want it. Having success in working in good studios or leading trainings, that might not be what they want. I think for some people, all they necessarily want is to earn a quality of living. And if they can use their looks or their physique to get a certain amount of money, then fine.
Yeah, it may not be a good investment for the long-term future as well. And I think if you're looking for a long-term career in this, maybe that's, not the best bet.
But I think that's the unique thing about the world today, in the kind of yoga or wellness world, is maybe in the past, everyone who was working as a teacher, that's kind of what they wanted, a career in teaching, maybe alongside that other job. I think nowadays it's very different. I think people are there's so many ways to make money, as it were, as a yoga teacher. I think people are just looking to make money however they can from the qualifications and looks and things they have access to. And there aren't necessarily as many people who are looking to be long-term career yoga teachers and thinking long-term, I don't think.
Okay, well, let's kind of sort of related to this in a way. We've talked about this before, so just whatever you're comfortable with sharing. Like, surrounded by beautiful yogis all day long, 70% of which may be female. How does a young, particularly good-looking male yoga teacher avoid the temptations of that? I know you're recently married, and this can get teachers into all sorts of trouble. Yeah. So how's that journey been?
Well, one thing is I'm really looking that my classes are super diverse. Because of the style of yoga I teach and how I teach it, my classes are super diverse in every sense, actually. In ethnicity, in terms of physical ability or disability, in terms of age. That's a wonderful thing. But yes, there are more females, certainly.
And very attractive females, right? Like, I've been to classes at some of the studios you teach, and I've gone, wow, this is something I don't have to think about in the classes I go to in Brighton.
I would say I don't necessarily attract that because I'm not so much of a flamboyant teacher teaching inversions and the complex physical stuff. I don't necessarily attract as high a percentage of people that are like the semi-naked handstanders to my classes. They're less drawn to me. I generally attract the people that really want to learn or be educated and really break stuff down. But yes, there were females. I've always been pretty asexual. I went to boys' school, like all boys' school my whole life. I brought up in a family of women. My dad was around, but my parents weren't together. So I was brought up with sisters and nieces and my mom. I think part of it is having always been in a boys' school and getting picked up from school and not really interacting and being in the core area of Birmingham at a private school. So there wasn't me going home on the bus with the lads.
Yeah.
Me get picked up and go to a rough area where everyone laughs at my school uniform and I don't know anyone. I didn't really build flirting skills. I probably until I was 17, 18, I really didn't know that many females my age that weren't family members. I really to that
but that could have the opposite effect. I've seen men and women, or young men and women, go crazy because they're not just getting used to men and women as a normal thing, right? Like, I've seen sort of various boarding school friends of mine who have gone totally girl mad as soon as they went to university,
Yeah, and I've never really had that, and I guess I've always been a little bit asexual in terms of my interactions. I've never been flirty.
Yeah.
All of my relationships, they've laughed at the fact I can't read flirting.
Also, I think you said to me once, you just made a decision. Okay, I'm not going to shit where I eat. This is my work. I was never really looking for it either. It was completely separate. It was a completely separate thing. So I think through the course of my teaching, I've had some multiple relationships. I think before I started teaching, I might have played with online dating, etc. I'm lucky that I met Holly, but I've never really. It just doesn't.
I'm not huggy. I'm not touchy.
Yeah. Okay.
Huggy.
Yeah, just kind of curious because I was.
Yeah, and so I'm lucky that I. It's not that I've had to rein anything in.
Right.
It's just who I am.
Yeah.
There has been
the
no
monster I am, Adam. You're not the.
Yeah, there's been no trying to
animal.
control myself, but to acknowledge the space, and I acknowledge that I'm a heterosexual male in a female-dominated environment. I really do try and be as respectful as I can, and I don't assist.
Yeah.
I did initially do like head massages and stuff. This is years ago, but now I pretty much won't touch anyone in class. There's a few reasons behind that. Part of it is I know if I was to touch someone, I know my intention. But I don't know how it's going to be received. I don't know what's happened in someone's life. People haven't given me explicit permission to touch, per se.
Right.
And another element of assisting is my view is I would rather people build their own strength and understanding of poses and get into it themselves over time than me say, I know what you should look like.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you in that shape. No one, a physio wouldn't work like that.
Sure. Where's that coming from anyway, right?
A physio or an osteopath who's highly qualified, much more than a yoga teacher, walking into a room full of 40 people, just popping people into shape.
Without knowing their history or their views necessarily. So
I might still give directional feedback to people that I know quite well. But generally speaking, male or female, I don't do his assists.
No, I'm disappointed. I thought I'd get a dodgy downwards dog assist. Yeah. I popped into your class in London one day, Adam. How's married life? How's that treating you?
You know what? It's wonderful, and it's come with this sense of freedom that was unexpected.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, it's like that stage of my life is done. Like looking for the love. Yeah. That's done. But also, it's just lovely to see. Two people. We've got each other's back in everything. We can now go forward working as a team. And it's really nice. There's something really nice.
I like it. It's good, isn't it? It's good.
Holly and I have
out breath. Like, wow, that's one of life's major jobs, to find a partner that you can get on really well with.
Yeah.
Maybe it lasts, maybe it doesn't, but assuming it does, it's like, oh, what a relief. Breathe out.
Yeah.
Someone I wake up with who I love and who's got my back. Like, what a fucking great thing. This is so obvious, but maybe it needs to be restated in our complex modern world.
Yeah, and it's, for me, like Holly and I, we've got this wonderful relationship. As you say, we've got each other's back. We love each other to bits. We support each other constantly. There was absolutely not one thing I would change about it. And I've been lucky to find that. I'm very lucky. But I think part of it is that both of us were good in ourselves.
Yeah.
We weren't coming into it trying to change anything. We weren't in any kind of crisis. We were really satisfied with who we are and established and really knew what we wanted. And it worked from there.
Well, yeah, love that isn't based on broken codependency certainly seems to have a different tone to it. That's the great thing about, I think, having a partner slightly more mature in life when you've done some work on yourself. And and you have this great brand now. Is it the Hustlers? Because it sounds like your name is HUSLER.
Indeed. So I don't.
Sounds like the famous magazine from America.
When I don't know how to say the name. No one really knows. I don't know. Who knows? Well, it's like my family are kind of, I think on my dad's side, a little bit kind of gypsies that lived on barges in Birmingham.
Could totally be a Peaky Blinder.
Exactly, yeah. So I feel like
you should fucking cash in on that. Get a bunch of Brummie teachers together, dress up like the Scottish lads. They cashed in on the kilt thing. You could well cash in on that.
Oh yeah, Finley's done well with his kilts. I love Finley. Finley's great. Yeah, I could do some flat caps.
Yeah,
I could go, right,
maybe
I'll open up to Warrior 2.
It's an unusual name, isn't it? It's not a normal name.
Yeah, it's not common. But yeah, I say it as Husler, as in the porn shop or the porn magazine.
Yeah.
But I think that was a really good factor as well. When I started out, I had a name that people recognise.
It's a cool name. Yeah.
Lots of teachers that we know now, whether it be Keno, Jason Crandall, it's an unusual name.
Yeah.
Who else? Dylan Werner.
Yeah.
It's an unusual name. He's got a good grip, and even better than Adam Husler, Holly Husler.
Holly Husler. That is I mean, out of respect for both of you, I'm not sure I can say where my mind goes there, but that is a hell of a name.
You know what? I didn't expect a girl to want it. Like for me, I was really open. If I met someone, maybe we do double barreled, maybe we create another name. I was kind of open to whatever it could be, and Holly just loved it. I was like, no, I want Husler. That's why I'm marrying you. Like, I really
Yeah.
want
My wife didn't like her original name, so she was quite happy to change it too. But it's a big thing, isn't it? It's a big thing we ask of women, and to do that, I mean, it's a hell of a gift if they're willing.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And she loved it. She's taken it, and we've now set up the hustlers.com. And because Holly, what she does is quite complimentary to me. So I'm teaching the very anatomical, alignment focused, technical vinyasa stuff, and she does sound journeys and is very lovely and very loving. She still teaches vinyasa, but teaches yin and does sound bowls. So it actually really complements very well. Like on retreats, it's a dream. It's a really good combo.
Nice. Okay, well, I think we need to be moving towards wrap up. End of a bit of a long day here. So, where do people find you?
So it's just adamhustler.com. Teach in London, but I'm all around Europe all the time. There's online stuff. There's retreats that I'm doing. There's lots.
All kinds of events here. Yeah, kinds of different. Wow, look at that. It's like Spain, Slovenia, Switzerland, Manchester. Yeah, Zurich, Paris. This is just like a few months I'm reading out. This. You really have got a hell of a schedule. That's more mad than mine.
Yeah, and that needs updating actually, doesn't it?
Bulgaria, Dundee, Shoreditch, it's Solihull. Oh, there's some good Midlands action going on still.
Yeah, a little bit right.
I want to see the Peaky Blinders yoga. And any final parting message about the body, Adam, while you're on the show?
All that I would say to everyone is yoga context. Yoga isn't, for me, and never has been, a flexibility class. For me, it's a practice of balance. And as far as the body is concerned, that is balancing flexibility and strength.
Great. Adam, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers, mate.
Some ways to get more, to give back, and to get more involved now. So the biggest request I have would be to share the podcast with your friends, people that you think would really enjoy it. Email it to them, put it on your social media, tell them about it, old school. Really appreciate that. Equally, if you want to support us financially, you can go to Patreon. That's patreon.com/embodiment podcast and give us $1 an episode. And I'd say they're well worth $1. So that's less than £1 if you're in UK-ish. So yeah, please go there. On the embodifacilitator.com website is where this is hosted. If most people I think listen to for iTunes. iTunes, we'd certainly appreciate a review. The way iTunes works means that a review means more people will find it. iTunes regards it as more important for searches. So even a couple of sentences review really does help as a little thank you to us. And if you want to go to embodifacilitator.com, you can see the actual, links to the sites. There's comments on there. The Facebook group tends to be where people discuss things. So if you go to put in the Embodiment podcast into Facebook, there's a page which is relatively quiet and a group which does have some discussion on. So I will reply to things personally there. So also on embodifacilitator.com website, there's all sorts of freebies there. There's videos, there's free ebooks, there's ebooks you can buy. And of course, there's our newsletter list. If you want to stay in touch and learn about things like the Embodied Facilitator course and our next Embodied Yoga Principles teacher training, then go to that website and you'll see a little pop-up and you can get the newsletter through there. Okay, so I think they're the main ones. Tell your friends, pay us some money on Patreon, give us a review on iTunes, send us your email if you want to be on the newsletter list, and get involved on the Facebook there. Bit long. Pick whatever you like that works for you. Until next time, welcome home to the body.